hiya.
Hello.
I thought you'd be at work.
Well, I just wanted to read through this in peace for a meeting. You know what Adam's like, he'd either be moaning at me or mansplaining something to me, so...
Well, you know, mansplaining is when a man explains something in a condescending way.
Very funny, that. What do we call this, then? Mansplaining squared?
No, I've just been waiting ages to use that joke.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 316 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that fucking Chesney, man. Fucking Chesney. I'm Gavin.
And I just fell out of a coconut tree.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
What's that in reference to? Or did you actually just fall out of a coconut tree?
No, it's a saying that Kamala Harris's mother used to say all the time. What, did you just fall out of a coconut tree? So that's where all the coconut pilled memes and stuff have come from all week, and people with palm trees and coconuts by their names on Twitter and Blue Sky, and
I haven't seen any of that. I'm trying to think of what the equivalent is in Scotland. Do you think I just fell out of a coconut tree? Is that what it is?
yeah.
So-
You know.
Do you think I just came up the Clyde in a banana boat? I think is the
You
equivalent.
think I just fell off the back of a lorry?
That's a little bit more on the nose, I think. Isn't it? Anyway, no politics.
If the show brings up politics, then we get to talk about politics.
Well, and we will get to that.
Yes, we will.
I'm sure in probably half an hour to 45 minutes. How are you?
I am relieved. I am lifted. I am elevated outside of my body, as is everyone else in this country.
Not everyone else.
Well, most people.
No politics, you.
The white women for Kamala Zoom call last night. The Zoom call crashed because there were over 136,000 women on it.
That's fantastic, but I feel like it's impinging on my no politics rule.
Right. But you asked how I was, and you know.
How are you apart from that then?
Yeah, well, apart from that, I'm very stressed because I got to finish this auction before we go to Kansas.
Oh, hold on. Auction Talk, sponsored by Kamala Harris. It's not really. No politics,
Not
damn
really.
it.
Not really. No. Yeah, I'm trying to get this auction finished before we go to Kansas.
We're going to Kansas in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, to see Eisenhower.
As precisely nobody else does. We have 3 or 4 more dead presidents to see. Eisenhower is one of them, and the closest one to us.
Yes, at
the
this
moment,
point, Kansas is the closest one to us.
which is a 12-hour drive away.
Because it's Eisenhower, and then Reagan and Nixon in California, and then we got to frickin' go back to Texas because HW didn't have the decency to die before we went to Texas.
Yeah, he died about a month after.
Yeah.
And we were actually in College Station, which is where he's buried.
We've been to the library. Actually, we went to W's library. Not even HW's library, but there's a statue of HW in W's library.
So if you have any ideas of what else we can do in Kansas apart from avoid tornadoes,
Follow the yellow brick road.
please to be letting us know.
I'm sure there's something Oz related in Kansas.
I think
would
there's
assume.
something like the world's largest banana or the world's hugest ball of twine or the world's biggest rocking chair.
Something like that.
There's something like that in
Right.
that area.
Not the Corn Palace, though, because we've already been there.
So that's 2 things that we can do then.
We have friends who live in Kansas. The Tyrees live in Kansas.
Oh, that's true.
We could go see the Tyrees.
I don't like going to see people.
They've got lots of delightful animals, though.
Yeah, I don't know if that's enough.
Yeah, because their dog, the dog of theirs that was my favorite, has died. So now I have no interest.
Fuck that then. Fuck that.
I'm so glad they don't listen to this podcast, only the other podcast.
Let's hope so.
Anyway, yeah, how have you been this week?
Yeah, I've been a bit stressed as well. And next week, I'm the only person in my team that's in.
Now,
So it's all about me. Finally, I'm the main character.
but see, this is the crazy thing, because initially we were going to go on vacation next week, but I said, no, I want to finish this auction first, so we pushed it back a week. So does that mean there was a point where nobody was going to be at work in
There
your
would have
team?
been nobody in on Thursday and Friday.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So now it's me that's in on Thursday and Friday.
Craziness.
Main character. Oh, the nonsense I shall get up to.
Yes. Oh, I meant to tell you, I've been meaning to tell you this all week, but as it relates kind of to the podcast and to Coronation Street.
We're done talking about my week? Okay.
Oh, no, tell me more about your
No,
week.
it's fine.
It's this thing at work that I forgot to tell you about, and that kind of relates to there's a new girl at work named Lily who is like kind of shadowing everybody and was helping me sort records the other day and was absolutely adorable because she doesn't know who anybody is. She is the twin of Betsy on
really?
Coronation Street. She looks exactly like her. She is far and away nicer and sweeter and doesn't try to scam money out of anybody at work. Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. Give it time.
But yeah, she looks exactly like Betsy. It was crazy. And I've been meaning to tell you about this since Tuesday.
And now you have.
And now I have.
And that's over now.
Yes.
Shall we preamble, my dear?
Are you done talking about your week?
It sounds like it. Give me some of that doppelganger Corrie news.
Peter Ash is joining the Panto train this Christmas as he joins the cast of Aladdin as someone called Abanazar, who I think is a villain, at the Queen Elizabeth Hall in Oldham. So already booked his Panto plans for the year.
Good for him.
Everybody's doing Panto this Christmas.
It's good money. That's the one thing that people say about Panto. It's good money.
I believe it, because everybody does.
Because you're doing like 2 shows a day for, I don't know, like 2 months or something like that.
All of December,
It's a lot of work. And then into January. And I've used my only Panto joke last week, so
Right,
I have
yeah.
nothing more to add to the matter.
Yeah. I still wish we had Panto here. Oh well. Mazel tov to Sue Devaney as she marries BBC journalist Jim O'Farrell.
Mazel tov indeed.
Yes. Yes, apparently it was a very quiet, on the down low ceremony earlier this year. Good health and Godspeed to the writer of the Metro article about it, who referred to Jack as Debbie's grandson and not nephew. You better be looking over your shoulder, pal.
I saw a photograph of them. I think it was maybe on the Instagram. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. They were
Wearing red.
adorable.
Yeah.
Adorable.
Absolutely adorable.
What a big week for her, because not only did she get married, but she was one of the highlights of this week's Coronation Street.
Yes, she was.
I feel.
Yes.
More Debbie.
That Falklands joke will live with
Oh
me
my
forever.
God, the Falklands joke. Oh, chef's kiss.
And finally, Melanie Hill has sparked possible return to the street rumors, posting a photo of herself with David Nielsen, aka our Roy, so we may get our Kathy back.
A shaved Roy.
Oh, thank God.
Well, just above the collar anyway. Would need to speak to Kathy to find out more, but as far as we're aware, unless it was an old photograph.
Who knows? I mean, she seems quite happy on Casualty, which she's on now.
Yeah, and doing great work by all accounts.
So who knows? It may just be
They
people
never had
reading into it.
They never had any stories for her beforehand, and they're never going to be magicking stories up now.
No,
And there's too many characters.
there are too many characters. Far too many characters, and not enough of them dying off quickly.
We'll get to that later.
And that's Corrie News.
That's Corrie News. A fairly controversy-free Corrie news,
Yeah.
I think.
Is Corrie news typically controversial?
It's typically something. But anyway, let's say not controversial, and let's continue that as we move seamlessly into our feedback section that I like to call Everyone's a Critic. Rob writes in this week, "Hello, Gavin, Helen. I meant to send this a short while ago, but mistakenly dropped the from your email address. My bad. Just wanted to say I love the podcast and listen each week. You mentioned wanting to know people's first Corrie memories. Mine was Tracy demanding Amy back from the Croppers. The ending of the episode was very poignant, with Roy crying on the floor. Interestingly, this was mentioned recently on the show. Yes, it was. I used to watch Coronation Street with my granddad, first Emmerdale at 7, and then the 2 episodes of Coronation Street after. I've dipped in and out over the years, currently out, but still enjoying listening to what's going on via you guys, and very much enjoy the humour that you inject into the show.
Aw.
We inject humour into the show.
We do.
Sometimes deliberately, sometimes not. You've kept me sane during many night feeds with my son. I was very happy to hear the Casualty-inspired theme tune used when a character is in hospital. That's my favourite show, so appreciated the reference." What, this little thing?
See, it's funny because that always reminds me of ER.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. I guess quite a few hospital-based shows have like a heartbeat.
There's
in
only
their
so
theme
far you
song.
can go, right? Yeah.
They all have to have the heartbeat in there somewhere. Da-dum-dum, da-dum-dum.
Yeah, how inventive of me.
Yes.
No, just absolutely down pat. I was quite pleased with that as well. It actually is one of the one things, apart from the World Podcast for Coffee music, that actually ended up sounding like how I wanted it to sound. So,
How about the Swain music?
oh, I didn't write that.
Oh,
That's just license-free wah-wah music.
I am oddly disappointed in finding that out.
Yeah, Santa Claus isn't real either.
Oh no!
Hello. Rob continues, "Also, you mentioned seeing Paul waiting in an ambulance recently. While unusual for Corrie, it has been occurring in several casualty storylines, sadly due to the difficulties the NHS is currently facing. Keep up the good work, both of you. And a quick cue for your A. If you each had to work in one of the businesses in the show, which would you choose? Best wishes from Berkshire." Thank you, Rob. I used to visit Berkshire for work with the Prudential in Reading.
Nice.
Loved it. What business would you work in?
None of them.
I like to work in the kebab shop for the free kebabs, but I'd hate the smell of the garlic.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to come home smelling of kebabs.
And I've always wanted to work in a pub. For a while, I dreamt of owning a pub.
It's not all it's cracked up to be.
No,
Remember
it's
when
not.
we were going to start a bakery? Remember that? We were going to buy a double-decker bus and put a bakery in it.
Well, putting a fish and chip shop in it. What are you talking about?
Thought it was a Scottish bakery and we were going to serve sausage rolls and Scotch eggs.
No,
and-
we're going to do fish and chips in it.
Well, maybe we could do sausage rolls too. This is a dream
Yes. Oh, well, I guess.
which will never come true.
A
But
bakery upstairs.
yeah, we actually even found one for sale in California and
Yeah.
talked about driving out there to get it.
It was $100,000, which sounded like a lot at the time. But considering what you're getting for your money, it's probably fairly decent.
Yeah.
100 grand for a London bus, you're like 70 or 80 grand for a truck,
Yeah.
a 4x4.
Yes.
Oh, well.
Pickup truck. Oh well. Dreams.
So you would like to work anywhere, not even the florist?
No, God no. I guess if I had to work anywhere, I would work at Roy's.
I think Roy would be oddly annoying to work for. Can you imagine? I think he'd infuriate me after a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love going there.
I could answer the phones at the salon. That would be fine. I'll answer the phones at the salon.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And maybe sweep up when Max isn't there.
Then Debbie writes, "I've got to admit, I've never thought of you guys naked."
You're
See?
welcome.
See? What you trying to say, like?
And now it's all you can think about.
Tara writes, is it really that surprising that Roy is out of the hospital a few days after bypass surgery? Just about everyone on the street has been knocked unconscious multiple times with no after effects whatsoever, unless you're Nick. But even then, your brain injury gets conveniently forgotten. Yes, it does.
Right, yeah. We've
moaned about this before,
right.
I think, haven't we?
Yeah, and that's kind of our point. Our point is the show has a history of being ridiculous about things that in real life would be far more severe.
Yes, I think Tara understands that.
Yeah.
P.S. Thanks for always pronouncing my name right on the podcast. How do you pronounce it wrong?
Tara?
Yeah, Tara. T-A-R-A.
No, you say, yeah, you're saying it right. You're saying Tara instead of Tara.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. Like the United States of Tara was the show with what's her name in it that was on HBO ages ago where she had multiple personalities. But then she's Tara, right?
Tara.
Yeah, Tara. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying Tara, not Tara.
I believe so. I haven't really thought about it, and now it's all I can think about.
Great. Now we will never pronounce your name correctly again.
I'm so sorry. That's what you get for telling me that I do something right. Never do that again. Follow Helen's example. Then Ian Les Paul writes, when I was young back in Somerset, people referred to smoothing the dog and the cat, come to think of it. Never heard it anywhere else. This is based off last. I had to think about this for a second. About clapping a dog.
It sounds dirty. Smoothing the dog, doesn't it?
I think it sounds dirtier than clapping does, and we agreed that clapping does sound very dirty.
And then, of course, smoothing the cat is even dirtier.
Smoothing the pussy?
Don't act like that grosses you out. I know better than that.
No, but that is rude. That's clearly rude. Well, I will look forward to smoothing my dog later tonight. Daisy writes, I'm sorry, but Rowan's name is Mr. Cunliffe. But when Debbie says it, it sounds like Mr. Cuntliff. Obsessed. That is all. Oh, one more thing. Can't wait to see what you call this week's episode. I have a few contenders in my head. This week's episode, as you will know now, Daisy, is called Mansplaining Squared. I like it when it happens on a Monday. Then I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the week.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the best one.
Thank you so much, Daisy, Ian Les Paul, Tara, I'm sorry if I've said that wrong now, Debbie, and Rob for writing in this week. We very much appreciate it. Feedback is always welcome. Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com, or our DMs are open at Corrie Podcast. Please note that we reserve the right to edit feedback, but only in the interests of brevity. And now we'll podcast for coffee. We're drinking our own coffees this week.
It's because we talked about ourselves naked, isn't it?
Yeah. That's not commercially viable, apparently.
Apparently not.
Oh well, back to the drawing board. What are you drinking this week?
Nothing, because I finished this Canada Dry.
I am drinking
A peace
tea
with a dirty peach.
Just peachy. This is incredible stuff. Close your eyes. Now, can you imagine a lovely big peach nut in your mouth? Can you? I can. It's a little hairy.
The nuts aren't hairy.
Nuts are a little hairy.
They're sharp and bumpy.
They got little... It's not actually hair. It's just bits of the fruit. But it feels kind of hairy to me. That's what... This tastes like having a peach nut in your mouth.
Like the peach seed.
Yeah, the nut.
I don't think that would feel very nice.
Try it.
Although I do like peaches.
It is 0% juice. Mm-mm. You see what I mean?
Yeah, it tastes like a peach. Oh, you're right. 0% juice.
That drink could not describe to you what a peach looks like. And yet it tastes so peachy.
A peach has a little ass.
Yes, it does.
A cute little ass.
Anyway, give me back.
Hold on. One more sip.
Peace tea. Just peachy. It's gorgeous. Anyway, The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, certainly not this week. And if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/The Talk of the Street. And you can sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month, you can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And we now have a Patreon site where you can also show us some love and sign up as a friend of the podcast. Go to patreon.com/The Talk of the Street. But remember, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts. Why do I imagine that most people listen to that skipped through or at double time?
Yes. I know I do.
I know I would, yeah.
Actually, this typically plays while I'm sleeping, so...
Excellent. What a ringing endorsement
I never have to worry about it.
of your own work.
I actually, because I was the only one at work today.
No, Betsy?
No, Betsy was working from home today. And by Betsy, we mean Betsy, not Lily, who looks like Betsy on the show. God, this is going to be confusing now. Anyway, yeah, so I actually listened to the List of Lists podcast today at work. Typically, I won't listen to it at work because it makes me feel awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shall we dive in, my dear?
Y'all, please.
What a week.
What a week.
We will start off with reality coding bites. On Monday, Leanne is doing her best to buoy Toyah's spirits ahead of her test results, but she's more interested in her giving Rowan both barrels about the newspaper article from last week. To her credit, Leanne does meet up with Rowan later and does quiz him, and he admits to everything, agreeing that he was a bounder and a cad in the past. But it was the Institute who helped him put Luke, his alter ego, behind him.
Right.
And he's thrilled by how far he's come as Rowan. He wonders if Leanne has anything in her past that would make her want to reinvent herself, despite knowing that she definitely does. But she says that she would always want to be Leanne. She passes this message on to Nick and Toyah and how she's fallen for Rowan's shtick. She doesn't want to talk about it anymore and wants to talk about Toyah's appointment. Toyah tells her it's been moved, but Nick sees through it and... follows her to the hospital. So he's with her while she learns that she has germ cell ovarian cancer and she'll need surgery in a fortnight and maybe chemo, but it has a good response rate. She takes the news pretty well while Nick squeezes her hand
And cries.
and quietly cries.
Yes. Yes. How do you feel about the whole Rowan? Oh yes, that was me. And I changed my name because I wanted to put that alter ego behind me.
It's a decent excuse.
Yeah. And then saying to Leanne, one day you'll put your alter ego name behind you. And Leanne's like, I don't think so.
Well, yeah, that was a little more worrying.
Yeah.
Like you have a birth name, and once you become reborn within the Institute, you become somebody new.
I suppose it's like when Catholics get confirmed and they get a saint name.
Is it like that? I have no idea.
I don't know. Do you know what my ex-husband's saint name is?
No.
Bartholomew.
Yikes.
He chose it just to piss his mom off, I think.
I think it would have worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always good when you choose something like that just to annoy somebody else. I think, is that what they call passive-aggressive? Or pass-ag, as I think the kids are calling it.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think if you were to sit and listen to that conversation afresh,
Yeah.
you think, this is actually quite a reasonable thing for him to suggest.
Yes.
He'd done some really, really awful things in the past. It was this institute that rescued him from that,
Right.
according to him. Why wouldn't he want to just disassociate himself with that and become someone new? The problem with that is you really are that collection of events and memories and history.
Right, that's
All those things kind of add up to who you are now, whether you acknowledge them or not.
right. And also, why if this is kind of a ringing endorsement for the Institute, why wouldn't that be like in your platform? I was a horrible person and the Institute turned me around. You would think that that would be something that he would have front and center and not, you know, hidden away with a different haircut. And, you know, I still find it very disturbing that his picture is not on the internet anywhere with the long hair.
Yeah.
That still disturbs me because there's pictures of everybody on the internet at this point.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you hear about lots of people who have addiction problems or had addiction problems
Right.
that they use them as part of their story and how and their accomplishments and how they've reinvented themselves whilst acknowledging that past existed, because by acknowledging that you were once someone bad or dreadful or flawed, but this is what I am now, it makes but this is what I am now a bit more impressive.
Right, yeah. Preachers use this sort of thing all the time. The pastor of our church uses this all the time. She talks about her dreadful past and how
Yeah, sometimes a bit too much for my liking.
Christ turned her around and everything. So, yeah, it's weird. If this is the case, then you'd think that you wouldn't have to wait until somebody finds it to say, oh yeah, this turned me around.
But here he is, not for 1 second knocked off his stride.
No.
It's like he was expecting it almost.
It's kind of eerie.
Yeah, so either he's used this shtick before,
Right.
or he was very good at anticipating what Leanne was going to come to him with.
Right.
So, after Toyah doesn't know how she can face Leanne, trying to reality code the fuck out of her situation, Nick thinks that Leanne might surprise her. When they get home, Toyah explains the appointment ruse and how Nick went with her, and after the initial shock, Leanne doesn't react well. She blames bad karma, juju, malarkeys for the cancer and the response, and this sets Nick into a rage, and it descends into a bit of a slanging match. And there's this nice little bit where it just kind of focuses on Toyah sitting on the couch, and she manages just to, I guess, turn the volume off the argument down.
Right.
But then she snaps and she shouts at them to shut the fuck up.
Leanne, to her credit, after Nick points out what she just said, seems very horrified that that's what she just said and keeps trying to walk it back.
Yeah. She did, though, say
Yeah.
that bad karma doesn't help.
Right.
Or words to that effect.
Yeah.
Nick was right, but Nick was very quick to jump down her throat.
Yeah. He doesn't love Leanne anymore.
Do you think?
It's because he loves Toyah.
I think he loves both of them.
I think he just loves Toyah.
I think he loves Toyah more than he loves Leanne, certainly.
Well,
Privately, Leanne doesn't want the Institute to come between them and recognise that they haven't had their hole in a while, and she misses that. But she says that without warning...
even though it's very, very disappointing.
But she says that without wanting to give up what she recognises as a big problem. Toyah comes back into the room and tells them that she doesn't want them with her during her treatment or on any appointment visits. She wants them to focus on each other, and she'll take on cancer on her own. On Wednesday, Toyah catches Leanne talking to AI Oliver, who can only say hello, mummy. It's like, what's the point of this thing?
Right. It doesn't even look like it's listening to her, you know?
It did beforehand.
It did beforehand, but then it's kind of just like static.
This is a one-trick pony, or a one-trick AI Oliver, if you will.
Yeah.
Leanne quickly shuts the laptop and tries to offer Toyah her time and support for the appointment that's coming up, but Toyah is still determined to go solo. In Nina's roles, David is unsympathetic to Leanne. He calls her mental. Nick says, you can't say that.
Right.
David says, arrest me. Oh well.
He will.
And he says, is she still chatting to C-3PO? That was funny.
That was hilarious.
Nick thinks that she talks to AI Oliver more than she talks to him. He sees Toyah, who sticks to her guns about the whole hospital appointment thing, but he manages to get her to accept a lift to the hospital. Meanwhile, Leanne is uploading with Rowan. He holds her hands when they do that.
Yeah,
It's so creepy.
it is.
And he convinces her to abide by Toyah's wishes, as she would want her wishes to be abided by, which is just to let Toyah go to these things on her own. You've tried, you've offered your support, Toyah has rejected it, there's nothing else that you can do.
Yeah, without acknowledging why Toyah rejected it.
Right. And Leanne, see for being a level 6, she's a fucking shit level 6. Mm-hmm. So anyway, at the hospital, Toyah's got her test done. Her nurse questions her about her support network, and Toyah realises that aside from living with her sister and Nick, she doesn't have anyone. And that was quite upsetting, because the nurse calls her Mrs. Habib.
Yes.
And wonders about her husband, and she says that she's widowed, and she very quickly says that she's widowed.
Yes.
She thinks of herself as being widowed. There's a story there, but we won't go into that.
No, yeah.
And it just
I
dawned
widowed
on
myself.
me. It just dawned on me. All this stuff that's been going on since the baby found in the woods kind of thing. Mm-hmm. She hasn't mentioned Imran once.
No.
And she hasn't even said that she misses Imran. And I think Toyah would. I think Toyah would be really, really missing Imran right now.
Did you see that picture of them dressed up as Mario and Luigi on the Instagram?
And maybe that's why I think that. I did. It was incredible.
It was so cute.
How much air was Charlie getting?
He got so much air. And maybe that's why she does it. It's because she's getting enough Charlie in real life, so she's not really missing him.
Oh, no, I just felt like Toyah should be...
Right. She should be saying, like, I wish Imran was here or something. But then again, she did murder him, so...
And she was with Spider since then, but...
Yeah. Yeah, you'd think maybe she'd call Spider for support.
Yeah. I don't know, just the fact that...
I still don't like the way they ended the Toyah Spider storyline. I still think that was rubbish.
What?
They should have kept him around.
That thing that was resolved in a week by a quick visit to Gunpoint Docks?
Yes.
Yeah, that was dreadful. So, she said that she's got no one. Or that's kind of dawned on her. So when she sees Nick outside, she tells him never to listen to her again, and she gives him a big hug. And this is photographed by a random in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Furious.
What? Has he been waiting there all this time? Waiting for them? Okay. All right. All right, they may hug now. Wait for it.
Are they going to do it? Are they actually going to do it?
Wait for it.
And also, as well as holding a snake at them, take some photographs.
Click, 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 click. Is that better?
It's more like a duck. Nick is furious and resurrects the spirit of Clayton Hobbs running through a graveyard by pointlessly giving chase down a hospital corridor in dress shoes. Back home, David is there for some reason, drinking Nick's beer, and he and Nick rush off to the rape hotel to have this out with Rowan. Toyah does nothing to stop this. So at the rape hotel, Nick accuses Rowan of spying on Toyah and lamps the prick in the face. "My upholstery," screams Debbie, "it's just been done." And that was pretty amusing as well.
Right, yes.
It was also funny when Debbie just says, "Oh, hello, Nick. Oh, and you brought David too."
Yes, that was funny.
Oh my God. It must be so much fun writing for Debbie.
Yes.
And she has an absolute blast working with it. So, Leanne is affronted by this and reckons it's off the scale. And of course, Nick has trouble explaining about the photographer because he wasn't meant to be there. And so he pretends that his knowledge is second-hand, just delivered to him from Toyah. David squirms at this substandard lying. And Leanne is unmoved and thinks Nick is insane. She wants him to apologise. "You can suck my balls," says Nick. So Leanne sends him home. Back there, now Toyah's furious. And when Leanne comes in, Leanne wants to talk. She explains how hurt she was by Toyah's decision to go solo, so she's going to withdraw with love, actively disconnecting from the situation. I'm not exactly sure what this means.
Right, yeah, because like Toyah's like, "Well, are you still going to live here?" And she's like, "Yes, I'm just going to ignore you whenever you talk about cancer."
Which is what Toyah asked for.
But did she?
Yeah. She changed her mind, but she
Right.
hasn't told Leanne that she's changed her mind.
No, she just said that she didn't want them coming to appointments with her.
She was going to do this all solo.
Yeah.
So Leanne's
But-
saying, "Fine, I'm just
Giving her
taking a step back from it all.
giving
then.
her a hug and a cuddle every once in a while and asking if she's okay and, engaging with her socially, I would imagine would be fine. But not according to Leanne, who is weird. But it's funny because both of them are looking at her with trepidation, thinking that Rowan has told her about
Yes.
the affair. Because of the way she's like, I need to talk to both of you. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh shit, here it comes.
After the break.
Oh shit, here it comes. All right, when is she going to get to it? Oh, is that all fine?
Yeah. If anybody knows what withdrawing with love or actively disconnecting means.
Is that like what Gwyneth Paltrow did to her wedding to not Gavin Rossdale, that's the other, Chris Martin. Remember when they got divorced, she said she was uncoupling or something like that? Is that kind of the same thing?
Maybe.
Disengaging with love?
It's terrible, but the only thing that I can think of when I think of Gwyneth Paltrow is the candle that smells of her vagina, which made me wonder if there was a market for a face cloth that smelled of my balls.
I remember when you made that joke.
I remember you almost vomiting.
Yes. Because even I don't want that.
It makes me chuckle.
Well, they're your balls.
They are indeed. And I've got to live with that.
You do. We're not getting money from anybody this week.
Just hold on to your money. It's fine.
Or maybe
So-
we're going to get more money. And suggested that you started OnlyFans.
A ball chat section of the podcast. Wonder what the music to that would sound like.
Remember when that shaving company was going to sponsor us and you said,
Manscaped, yeah.
and you said no because you didn't want to talk about your balls on the podcast? And yet here you are giving it away for free.
Don't I feel like an asshole now?
You should. And
Can we
smelly
move
pair
on?
of balls.
Can we move on?
Sure.
I feel like we should. So she leaves and Nick is furious. Toyah tells him to settle Petal. It's not as if the two of them are an item and he needs to quit behaving like they are. And this was very brave, I think, from Toyah
Very
to
astute of
to
Toyah.
bring this up.
Yes.
Outside, Nick speaks to David, who points out that Nick was looking for a fight earlier and he wonders what's going on. So Nick admits that the cancer diagnosis has thrown him for a loop and he thinks that he's in love with Toyah. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
You think?
Oh,
You think, pal?
I do like Nick and Toyah together.
I do too. I want Toyah to be happy. Mm-hmm. And I don't really care about Leanne at the moment, which is awful. Because I love Jane.
When was the last time you cared about Leanne? It's a while ago, isn't it?
When Oliver died.
Yeah, around about that time.
That's about it. Yeah. Yeah, because then almost immediately she was horrible to poor Sam. Remember when she was horrible to Sam?
Understandably.
Right. But you can temper that a
yeah,
little bit.
Hide that a bit better.
Hide that from the kid. A little bit better there, Leanne.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
And being a terrible mother to poor, what's his name?
Simon.
Yes.
So much so that you can't remember his name and he's now left.
Yes.
Poor anonymous Simon.
Poor anonymous Simon.
I think Toyah and Nick, they seem to have been decent friends leading up to this. I mean, Toyah's been living there for ages, hasn't she? She was living there, God, with Spider for a while.
Yeah. Remember when Spider was living there too? God, the place must have been rank with patchouli.
Yep. And other things.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it just makes sense, and that's obviously I think where the show's going with this. You don't set all this up and not have something as a delivered result at some point. So yeah, I guess we'll see. What do you think of the cancer diagnosis?
Well, I mean, we knew it was coming, right? We knew this was going to happen.
Yeah,
We've known this
you're
for
not going
a
to
couple
have a
weeks.
pregnancy that's a fake pregnancy, and then a cancer diagnosis that's a fake cancer diagnosis.
Right, yeah.
It's going to be something cancerous.
Yeah.
I imagine that it's all getting cleared up through the surgery and the chemotherapy. I don't think we're losing Toyah anytime soon.
No.
But, and I think we've maybe mentioned this before, it finally closed down the baby factory. So any lingering thought that
Well,
Toyah...
And that all depends upon, because if the cancer is only in one ovary, they'll just take that one ovary out. So it'll have a functioning ovary on the other side.
Oh, well, maybe.
They tend not to take both of them out, especially if you're as young as Toyah. I mean, remember when my doctor didn't want to take my ovaries out? And it's like, I've already shut down the baby factory. I don't need these things. You can take them out. It's fine. And she's like, no, we'll just give you medication to make this go away. And she did. And it was fine.
And a good time was had by all.
Yes. I do appreciate the fact that it's ovarian cancer. And I know that sounds weird.
It does sound weird.
But, typically...
You should qualify that.
Typically, it's like breast cancer. Mm-hmm. So...
Cervical cancer. That was Sinead's, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. So we haven't had ovarian cancer yet. So that's good.
It's another cancer storyline.
Right. And we have to ask, is this a cancer storyline that's meant to further something else? Like Nick and Toyah getting together? Mm-hmm. Or is the cancer does the cancer stand alone as a storyline?
Yeah. What was the purpose of the baby in the woods? Because it seems to be to give Toyah ovarian cancer.
And also something Roy. Because remember, it was related to the Roy storyline as well.
To tie it into Roy.
Yeah.
Tangentially, I think.
Right. Poor Toyah, she's being stretched in all sorts of directions.
Yeah, I don't know if this was worth it. Surely she can get ovarian cancer without having to retcon anything. But anyway,
Yeah.
I've already...
You've already died on that hill.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to our next storyline. Bully for you.
Bully for you.
On Monday, in Nina's roles, Sean is giving Dylan a hard time about not turning up for his shift at Speed Daal yesterday, but tells him he has a chance to put things right today. Sean knows that he's concerned about Mason showing up again, so Dylan goes to apologise to Yasmin and Stu, and they're both accommodating to the circumstances and look forward to seeing him later in the day. Dylan is nervous as he goes back to the precinct flat, and he's secretly watched by Mason, who's been sleeping rough, and he's taking a bit of a doing because his face is covered in jam.
It is.
Stu finds him on the swings later and recognises that he's in a bad way. Stu doesn't watch Corrie, so doesn't know that this is Mason the bully, and eventually talks him into going back to Speed Daal with him to get cleaned up and fed. We learn that it was his brother who smeared jam all over his face. And after Stu has managed to convince Mason that he's not a paedophile, later we see Mason in Speed Daal wearing one of Stu's polo shirts and tucking into a vegetarian curry. But when Sean and Dylan come down the stairs, Dylan makes a run for it, while Sean is fucking furious.
Yes, he is.
And brings Yasmin and Stu up to speed with Mason and his knife-wielding bullying tendencies.
Right.
Mason insists that he's changed and learned his lesson and plays down his involvement in the bullying of Liam, saying that it just got out of hand and other boys made him do it. He claims,
which is bullshit.
Yeah. He claims to feel bad for what he did and insists that he's paid the price. Stu, though, has to send him on his way, and Mason apologises for any aggro caused.
And he gets to keep the shirt.
Which is a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
Mason is outrageously ungrateful for everything that happens in that, doesn't he?
Right.
Isn't he? He's like,
Yeah,
it's vegetarian curry? Oh, you want me to wear that? Oh, this is all kind of shit.
Right.
And when Yasmin...
Oh, are you a pedo?
And Yasmin and Stu kind of treat it like he's joking, almost.
Or, like, we're just going to ignore this because we know what homelessness is like.
Right.
Or at least this is what Stu is. This is the point of view that Stu has. This is why Stu is sympathetic to this kid.
They're being the bigger people here.
Right. Yeah.
Mason,
and
though,
obviously he has not been brought up well if his brothers are pummeling him in the face.
Yeah. Not pummeling them hard enough, I think. But this kind of goes some way, and later on it'll be confirmed for sure, that any redemption that we think Mason is in line for here is maybe false.
Yeah.
Because he's, for all that he says that he's changed,
He doesn't seem like it.
Still that prick, isn't he?
And he's still lying about what happened.
So on Wednesday, Stu and Yasmin are giving themselves a hard time about the whole Mason thing from yesterday. Stu, though, is still sympathetic to Mason's plight, but Yasmin, she doesn't think any of this is any of Stu's fucking business.
Right.
But if we thought Mason had turned a page, we're left in no doubt that he's still a prick when later on he grabs Dylan at the precinct and gives him a Chinese burn and a stage 4 wedgie. Dylan runs off with his pants between his cheeks, with Mason promising further revenge if he ever sees him again. And with Mason currently sleeping rough outside Dylan's flat, this might happen more than anyone would like.
Yeah.
When Stu and Yasmin see Dylan and Nina's roles later, they apologise for the mess yesterday, but Dylan turns down the offer to work in Speed Daal, while Yasmin notes Dylan's injured wrist, and that's as far as we get with that storyline.
And she calls them Ruffy Tuffy Boys or something.
She has a video at home.
Oh.
Yeah. That face cloth isn't sounding so unappealing now. No, it is. So, did you share the same kind of brain fart as I did when I saw Dylan going to open my door in the precinct thinking, the fuck's he doing there? And then I remembered, oh, he lives there. That's what he's doing there. He lives in the precinct now.
Yeah, they did actually move out of Eileen's house.
They did,
Yeah.
finally.
So now there's nobody living there. Oh, no, wait, Mary's still there.
Yeah, they moved out just as Eileen was moving out. So the problem with not being enough room in the place kind of resolved itself a little bit.
Right.
But then they'd moved out already.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well.
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing with this. And
Yeah, I was at first, like between the shot that we see of him sleeping rough and then him with the bloody nose, I was like, oh God, are we just like almost immediately giving him a redemption arc? Mm-hmm. But no, that apparently is not what we were doing.
No, he's still as bad as he was.
He's still a prick.
He's just homeless and getting beaten up.
Right, yeah. Which doesn't seem to make him not want to beat up other people.
Exactly. How explicit should this lesson be that he needs to turn him around?
What else are they going to do to him to make him not an asshole? Or is he just an asshole for life? And if that's the case, can't we just get rid of him?
Yeah. Yes.
Do we need this character back? I don't think we do.
Can Dylan not fight him? Because the problem is Dylan doesn't fight back. So
true.
Mason continues to pick on him.
Yeah.
He'd think twice if Dylan need him in the newts.
Yeah. Dylan should knee him in the newts. Sean needs to show Dylan how to fight.
I was honestly shouting that at the TV.
Knee him in the newts.
Hit him! Just hit him! Why aren't you hitting him? Oh, that was just so frustrating.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Liam would knee him in the newts.
I guess it's
Liam would knee him in the newts.
That's right. It's difficult in that situation, but oh God, I've had enough of this. It was nice when he was not in it. Having to deal with all this again is just not something that I had on my bingo card for this summer. Oh well.
Oh well.
Let's move on to our next storyline, which is Videodrone. On Monday, Kev meets up with Ronnie and Debbie in Nina's roles. She offers to buy breakfast for her brother, but he points out that Abby will be back today, and he's too busy with that and the garage. Debbie senses some nerves in Kev. So Abby does get home, and Kev tries to kill her with cheese. She senses that he's on edge and tells him that she wants to put ITV Stefan behind her and suggests that they go to the pub
But not like that.
to take their minds off it. The sandwich that Kev made Abby was like
Honking.
a chunk of cheese, a pound of cheese between two slices of bread, essentially.
Yeah. Kev, you're an adult.
How have you been eating since she's been away?
Sir, you are an adult. You should know how to make a sandwich by now.
A cheese sandwich?
Sir.
Is that the simplest of all sandwiches? A cheese sandwich?
I suppose it depends upon what sort of condiment you want to put on it, if any.
A plain cheese sandwich.
So it's just a slice of cheese between two pieces of bread.
Buttered bread.
Okay, so butter is our condiment today. I would use
condiment?
I would use mayonnaise.
See, I think this might be a British thing. You always butter the bread, regardless of what you're putting on it.
Really? Mm-hmm. That is a British thing. We don't do that.
No.
No.
I know that.
Yeah. And you don't do that anymore either, because
do.
you've made me sandwiches before that haven't had butter on them.
They all have.
Have they? Really?
Yes. Not a lot.
Evidently not.
But it's not right.
Not enough to taste.
It's not right to serve up a sandwich that doesn't have butter on it. Or I can't believe it's not butter. Or whatever it is that we get.
It should be butter.
What is it that we get?
I don't know. You're the one who buys groceries.
I can't remember what it's called. It's got canola oil in it. That's all I know.
Right, yeah, so it's not butter. It should be butter. It should be Land O'Lakes.
That is that.
Okay, so it's not, I can't believe it's not butter.
No. Anyway,
it doesn't matter. You know what we should get? We should get some Irish butter. Oh,
nice
so
little
good.
bag. Creamy.
A little bit
Irish
of
butter.
Kerrygold. Now that's a company that should sponsor us.
Kerrygold pure Irish butter. Now available in £1 format. There you go.
You should be making some ASMR videos on YouTube. We'd be millionaires.
I was going to read my book
You should do that.
and do a kind of audiobook of it.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered. It's so much work.
Do like a chapter at a time.
I did.
Oh, so this recording exists somewhere?
The first 2 chapters I've done. And then I'd have to start again.
You should do that.
So anyway, where did we get to after my
No, do it right.
what?
Don't do it. Do it right. There you go.
Coronation Street. In the pub with Debbie and Ronnie because we're talking about Kev and Abby.
Yes.
Abby has slight digs at Kev that don't go unnoticed, like how she has been keen to see Jack, but then doesn't mention Kev.
Yeah.
She goes back home and tells Kev to stay put. He's deserved his night out, she says. Debbie wants to know what the fuck that was all about, and Kev puts it down to the deep fakes and how he didn't really handle it very well, but he doesn't want to talk about it. And he doesn't mention him chinning ITV Stefan, which really was most of the problem.
Yes.
On Wednesday then, Debbie tracks Kev and Abby down to Nina's Rolls with great news. They're both invited to a new chef's tasting menu at the Rape Hotel before service today. Meanwhile, the young crew, Jack, Hope and 2 scallies, are chatting about the porno they found of Abby. Hope knows it's fake. How?
Because
How does Hope know it's fake?
Because Hope has probably overheard her parents talking about it.
Oh yeah, maybe Tyrone's definitely...
Tyrone
He's
and
definitely gossiping about it to Fizz.
Tyrone and Fizz are not soft-spoken people.
One of the scallies winds Jack up to the point that Jack, who's in his 50s, remember, is about to kick fuck out of him.
And has a prosthetic leg.
Debbie
And yet...
Debbie comes along, breaks it up, and kicks fuck out the scally herself. It was so funny, though, when
so
she
funny.
says, why don't you go home and play on your computers or header a ball about? And the wee scally says, yeah, well, we were born after the war. And she's like, you better be talking about the Falklands. Superb.
That was great.
Superb. Line of the week, that. Debbie drags Jack away for a milkshake, and to get to the bottom of all this, Jack just calls it bants, but eventually admits to hearing about Abby's porno. Debbie tells him about the deep fakes, and Kev was just trying to protect him from it. That's why he never mentioned anything about it. Jack asks Debbie to keep this to herself. He doesn't want Abby to know that he knows. And Debbie thinks that this proves that Jack is a very mature boy.
Sure.
Back at the Rape Hotel, Debbie sees ITV Stefan having a business meeting at the bar. She blames him for Abby's deepfakes. He denies it, but she throws him out. And later, Kev needs Debbie's glasses to read the posh taster menu at the Rape Hotel with gooseberry rip souffle and scallops with seafoam and pigeon with star anise. But he tells her that he just wants a well-done steak and chips. Abby says make that too, and Jack would like some nuggies and red sauce. No, he wants a steak as well.
Yes.
Back home, Abby and Kev sort out their unfinished business, and they smooch like old times. Old times being Kev.
I agree with Debbie, though. I would be pissed off that they just want steak and fries as well, because
Not
that
just
sounded
steak.
lovely.
Well done steak.
What is wrong with those people? I may have misjudged the way that they vote.
Kev is definitely a steak and chips man.
Yeah, but
But
well
I thought
done.
well done would have been even a little bit overcooked for him. And the fact of the matter is, and I've spoken to enough chefs who have confirmed this, that if you ask for a well done steak, you're getting the skankiest bit of meat that he's got in the fridge.
Right. That's the way it happens.
Because a good steak is kept for the people that want it medium rare,
Right.
who will actually have something to taste.
The correct people.
Yes. I don't want to get all snobbish on you, but
Yeah.
medium rare is done enough.
Yes.
I mean, we've all been well done people at one point.
Yeah, when we were children.
Yeah, but then
and didn't know better.
But then you become teenagers and you
Right. But you know what? Even as a child, if I was getting a steak, I wasn't getting it well done. Medium well, maybe. Mm-hmm. Never well done. My parents brought me up correctly when it came to steak.
and thank goodness for that.
Yes.
It gave us something to work with.
My mother's from Montana. She would never let me eat a well done steak.
So Abby's back then.
Yes. Yes, she is. And so's Jack. Because we haven't seen Jack in a while either.
Yeah, Jack wasn't away though.
No, he was just disappeared. And I guess he hangs out with Hope now.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And those two scallywags.
Right. Yeah. At first I was like, who are these other two kids?
Yeah, who are these guys?
I should know them. And then I realized I don't.
They're probably Sarah's. That's what you thought, right?
I was like, is that what's his name? The kid of Gary's whose name I can't remember?
Jake.
Right. At first I thought that shorter one was Jake.
The wee one.
Yeah.
The wee one,
Was the mouthy one.
he was a
He
bit of a
hilarious.
character. Yeah, I liked him.
He was the one who mentioned the war. What do you know about war, kid?
So good. Yeah, and born 30 years after the Falklands as well.
Right.
Oh my God, that's probably not that far off being true.
Yeah. No, that sounds right.
So really, not much difference between World War II and the Falklands as far as that kid's concerned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
She
dear.
probably should have said, like, Desert Storm or something. Because you guys were involved in Desert Storm, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, with what's his name? The Prime Minister. The one who looks smarmy. Oh, wait, they all look smarmy.
Mr. Tony Blair.
Yes, Mr. Tony Blair.
Mr. Tony Blair, you are a horny weevil.
He left the pigs alone, though.
He did, thankfully.
Yes.
No politics, you. So
And the couches.
this whole story just seems to be a bit of a reminder that the deep fake thing is still a thing.
Yeah.
And ITV Stefan is still a
Around.
suspect
Yeah.
in that, even though he has consistently denied it.
Right. I think he knows who did it, though. That was hilarious. I love Debbie kicking him out. That was great.
She threatened to
Call the
out him
cops.
as a paedophile.
Yeah. Which is a lie.
When in doubt,
She threatened to lie about him being a pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about that.
no, it was a bit extreme, I felt.
But it worked, which makes you wonder.
And you also wonder about ITV Stefan when, once approached, he says that he's having a business meeting with two actors in non-speaking roles.
Right.
He's having a business meeting in a bar of a hotel.
Right.
Now, that's not the first time that
No.
people have had meetings in places where
Right,
meetings
and-
shouldn't happen. But
And then the way he talks to her, like, who are you to kick me out? You know? And then
And
she's
she's
like,
like-
I'm the owner, bitch. Scram. Samuel L. Jackson.
But this does remind me that, yes, she's the owner of the Rape Hotel.
Yes.
But she's the owner because she screwed over Ray Weinstein,
Yes.
who was trying to build skyscrapers on Coronation Street a
Yes,
few
which
years
is
ago.
hilarious.
Yeah, the show doesn't want us to remember that. Let's move on to our next story, which is The Curse of the Winter Browns. On Monday, Summer is pampering Paul with a hand massage. He's had a busy day preparing a message for the family to try and get them to put their arguing ways behind them. So thanks to Billy sending some texts, they all assemble, and after Billy gives them a piece of his mind, Paul's plea is to remind them that he's dying and that he wants them all to be back on his side. He's playing the terminal card and he doesn't care about it. And this is enough to get everyone to forgive each other, Kit included, who admits to turning the twins against their mum. It's time to forgive. Although with Kit, it's difficult to tell how sincere he is. So they head to the pub where they play the name game, which is where you have the little bit of post-it
Right,
on your forehead
yeah.
with a name on it. And am I a man? Am I alive? That kind of thing. Where Kit is revealed to be Donald Trump. And when he asks, am I a good guy or a bad guy, it's Summer who says, well, some people think he's bad.
Yeah. Summer!
Some people like you, Summer.
Summer! Your dads are gay. You of all people.
All three of them.
Yes, all three of them. You of all people should. And you just came back from America quite recently. You of all people at that table should know he's 100% bad across the board. There's no gray area there. 100% bad.
As far as Summer's concerned. Because Summer surely is progressive.
One would
Surely.
think.
But,
She has 3 gay dads.
But some people, yes.
Project 2025 would have them both, all 3 assassinated or something. I don't know. I've only read part of it. It's very big.
Anyway, Gemma gets some bad news from a letting agency, but Kit might have a solution in mind, and rather than explain what it is, they all just go back to their game, where Gemma is Scooby Doo. Row?
I know. She's like, am I an animal? Because Paul picked it, and he always makes me an animal.
Am I an animal? Yes, but let's get back to the game.
And who was it? Who was Queen Camilla? Was that?
I didn't.
I
pay
think
attention.
that was Billy. I think Billy was Queen Camilla, which is hilarious.
On Wednesday, Gemma's at Paul's talking about being on the housing list, but not looking forward to sharing accommodation with another family. That does sound pretty awful.
Yes.
And to make matters worse, the landlord has an estate agent come around later, and sure enough, the landlord has a viewer, but it's Kit, and he's spotted by Summer. Later in the pub, Chesney's worried about his upcoming 30th birthday, and I'm like, what?
No,
You're in your 20s?
he's not.
Yes, he is. His character was 30 today.
What?
I'm like,
No.
I was 21 when this character was introduced to the show? Really? No, I was 21 when this character was born.
Yeah.
I was older than that when the character was introduced. Oh, for fuck's sake. Moving on.
Moving on.
Summer comes in to explain what you saw earlier.
And people are stupid about it.
It's just because he's such an old man. Anyway. Ben and Gemma are furious until
Why?
until Kit explains that he bought it to rent it back to them.
Duh.
Although this goes on for several minutes or so it
Right.
feels.
Yeah. They don't. It's like, why would you assume the worst, that he's buying it to kick you out of it? Why would you think your long lost brother would buy your house? Why would you immediately think he's doing it for evil and not for good?
Well, I tell you what you would do. When you learn that, you'd say, oh, why are you buying that?
right.
You wouldn't jump to the conclusion that he's going
Gonna
to fuck
kick you
over.
out of your house. Right. Especially since he has not given Gemma any cause to believe that he would do something like that.
No.
What the hell is wrong with these people?
I guess when you're pissed upon and shat upon your whole life, you just think that everything that happens is somehow having a negative impact on you. But the way that they wouldn't even let him speak,
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And even
it's just, wait a minute, do we have like a minute and a half to fill in this episode? Is that what the problem is?
and even Summer, who is supposed to be smart, let's remember, she got a scholarship to go to America
To the University of America, America Street, America,
on Boston Common,
postcode USA 1.
which is a large patch of green grass in the middle of Boston. Even she's like, oh, I can't believe he did this. It's got to be something bad. I didn't want to tell you, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
But what a shitbag.
I mean, we all saw this coming a mile away, right?
Well, I think last week I thought Kit was going to invite them to live at his enormous house.
Right.
But I'm glad that he's had a part to play in this. But he says that he's been using his mum's bereavement dividend that seems to have been paid out super quick. So he's going to buy the house to rent it back to them. Privately, Bernie thanks him, but he makes it clear that he's doing this for his siblings. He still fucking hates her.
Right. Yeah.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yeah. He's just pretending to like her because Paul's dying.
Yes. Does he hate the others? No, I don't think he does.
No,
I
he
think
doesn't.
he's genuinely feeling some...
Cares about the siblings. Yeah.
Yes, some sibling love for...
I can understand that.
Yeah. I guess it is even if the situation is less complex than what has been described here, it can be difficult for adopted children to reconcile their feelings for their birth parent.
Yes.
Right?
This is not an easy thing to do at all. And there are complications in the story that like her bottling it the first time they were supposed to meet, and also learning that he was the only one of the 3 siblings who was adopted out.
And he was the youngest.
Right.
And the tallest.
Yes. Because he has a different dad. Have they explained that yet? That he has a different dad?
That Giant Haystacks was his dad? No, I don't think they have.
Is it Big Gay? Not Big Gay Al. Is it? What's the guy's name? Big. What's his name? The one who tossed Bernie under the bus after the whole selling TVs debacle.
Big Garth.
Big Garth. Do you think Big Garth is his dad?
No.
Oh.
I think it is Big Gay Al. Super. Thanks for asking.
Big Gay Al's not real.
Neither's Big Garth. The one thing, though, that Kit's doing here that I kind of have to respect is he's been honest about it.
Yeah.
He's not
Privately.
He's not letting Bernie go on thinking
Yeah.
that everything's all right. Everything's not all right.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're just going to have to either
Deal
deal
with
with
it.
that or ignore it.
Yeah.
But
It
that's
may
up to
never
you.
be all right.
Right.
Yeah. And that's fair.
I think
It
so.
may not feel fair to Bernie, but it is fair.
And she kind of takes it
Yeah.
well, maybe not well, but she,
She takes it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she seems contemplative about it.
Yeah. And she's like, well, as long as you're taking care of your siblings, it's fine.
Because, you know...
Your older siblings.
Because, you know, that should be her main concern.
Yeah.
Unless she's making it about her.
Right. And she doesn't seem
At
like
least-
she's doing that.
At least Kit is in my life. At least I'm seeing him. He may not care for me, but at least he cares for his family.
Right.
Other than me.
At least we know what he looks like.
Right. And what a big boy he's grown into.
Yes.
Oh, that was creepy.
Well,
All right.
wouldn't be the first time.
Move on to our penultimate storyline tonight. Where in the world is Irish racist Kelly? On Monday, Joel is moving more of his stuff into Dee Dee's. He reckons he's done, but she's got her eyes on his drawers.
But not like that.
And has enlisted Michael to help to bring them over. Joel shits himself a wee bit, makes his excuses and leaves. He goes back to his flat and sends racist Kelly into town with some money, warning her to wait before coming home, because he explains about the chest of drawers getting taken away. Later, Ronnie arrives to help too, but he's just there to drink beer. And
Yes.
he's the one who goes into Joel's fridge and finds fresh milk and some takeaway meals for one.
Yeah.
Michael is very suspicious about this.
Yes.
I don't know why, but Joel says that they must belong to the decorator, and that seems to satisfy the others. What's happening with the rest of the furniture? Like, what's racist Kelly sleeping on, for example?
Well, I'm assuming his bed is still in there. Kind of creepy. And the couch is still there.
Dee Dee is happy when the drawers are delivered and wants to get wired into the Vino, but Joel has videotapes to return, so heads off, texting racist Kelly that the coast is clear, but racist Kelly has gone to see Max. She's just wandering about Coronation Street.
Yes, she is.
Max isn't in, and it's Maria that sees her and hopes that she's been looked after. Given how many people are looking for her, this is surely reckless behaviour from racist Kelly. She gets back to the flat late to find Joel angry and then supposedly worried. He says he wants to take care of her and the baby. She just wants to get the fuck away to Ireland and eat chips.
Yes. which sounds like a pretty good plan to me.
Eating chips in Ireland.
Yes.
With racist Kelly.
I love Ireland. They've got good libraries there.
Sure. On Wednesday, Joel is at racist Kelly's flat with some fruit. She's bored and desperate to get to Ireland still. She heads off for a bath while he gets on his phone to mysteriously ask someone about a package. What's this package?
Did you briefly think that he had poisoned the fruit? Did you briefly have a Snow White moment when he picks up the apple and says, "Here, eat this one"?
No.
Well, I did.
He says he needs this package ASAP. Racist Kelly goes to see Max again and this time finds him. But she's in a grumpy mood and not willing to answer any of Max's millions of questions about where she's living and Nathan being her secret boyfriend. He insists he's her friend and just worried about her, but she storms off in a huff. She gets home and Joel is there setting up a TV, but this just infuriates racist Kelly more.
Because
She
it's
wants
old.
to go to fucking Ireland and she wants to go now, and she isn't in the mood to listen to Joel's excuses. Joel is adamant. He's not loaded, and this will take as long as it takes, but it will happen and it'll be worth it.
Yes.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yes.
Joel really is kind of rubbish at this.
He really is. It's weird that he hasn't been caught already after doing this to other girls.
Yeah.
It's weird
Was
because
was he a genius with other girls and he's just an asshole with
right,
racist
yeah,
Kelly?
because in the beginning of this, when we discover that he's the bad guy and that he also abused this other girl, it made it seem like this was something that he did all the time, that
That's
he
what
was
we thought, yeah. And
that he was possibly part of a ring.
I still think this is not his first rodeo and not
Well, we
maybe
know
his
it's not
second
his-
or third.
Yeah.
It's-
But the way that he's acting now makes it seem like he's a dumbass and has not done this before and should have been caught long ago.
And he's so scared to stand up to Dee Dee and say, no, Michael isn't coming with me
Right.
to do this. Those
No, I'll
chests of
buy
drawers.
you a new chest of drawers.
Exactly.
Go down to Gary's and pick something out nice for yourself.
But I'm going to play this old tune again, I'm afraid, Helen, that the
Oh,
show
no.
is doing absolutely nothing to redeem racist Kelly
That's
or make her
true.
a sympathetic character in all
No,
this.
because she's so... And I know hormones and whatever, but still, yeah, she's just so petulant and whiny and still hasn't gone to the police.
Well, she's
Or
promised not to.
no. Swain came to her. That's right, and she said it was Nathan what done it.
Right.
What got her up the duff?
Yeah, we haven't really learned how that's progressed anything.
Right, yeah, because I'm sure Nathan would insist on a DNA test. Because he's like,
But-
I've never fucking touched that girl. I demand a DNA test on that bebe.
But now nobody knows where racist Kelly is, apart from Joel and now Maria, of all people.
And
Max still doesn't know where she is.
no.
And
But
actually,
they know
Maria
that-
doesn't know either. Maria just sees her on the street.
Right, yeah. So they know that she's around.
But yeah, she's just so uppity and unsympathetic when she's talking to Max, who's just trying to help her. And she's the one who seeks him out. She just wanted to... I don't know what she wanted.
Right.
It
Well,
was
he
just-
texted her earlier, that he's there if she wants to talk.
And presumably by showing up, she does.
Right. And then she doesn't.
Yeah, it's...
It's ridiculous that she comes back and that doesn't immediately resolve all of this.
It's so hard to feel sympathy for her. And yet we have felt sympathy for her.
Yeah.
When she tried it on with Roy last summer,
Yeah, that was gross, man.
it was gross, but the interaction and the conversation that she had with Roy explaining why she did that and why she
Right.
thinks that's how she
Right.
thanks men
Right.
was really, really strong and
Yeah.
powerful and
She
made me
doesn't
feel
seem to
sorry
be
for
that
her.
person anymore, though, because she's in the flashbacks we see of her with Joel, she seems reluctant, and he has to be the one to kind of nudge her in the right direction. And that seems to go against character. And it's almost like they did that just so that we are more sympathetic towards her.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's so many aspects of her character that really haven't been addressed, but
No.
it's really vital that we feel something for her in all this. And I've got to really say at the moment, I really don't. I think it's been acted really well, but there's that connection with the character that is just missing. But the show has to give us something to latch on to.
Right, yeah.
And
now it seems like maybe the same thing is happening with Mason, and it's like, maybe we just don't need these characters.
let's get her the fuck to Ireland and be done with it.
Yeah.
All right, our final storyline tonight. Paul's special day. On Wednesday, Jackie, the occupational therapy nurse, she's at the God flat to check on Paul. She has a note that he's not safe in the stair lift anymore, and she runs a few tests, and sure enough, even with Bernie and Billy helping, Paul nearly fell out, and it's too dangerous, so he can't really use it anymore. It takes Bernie a ridiculously long time to realise what this means to Paul, that he will be trapped in the flat while they await alternative housing, which probably will happen too late. Paul realises this immediately. They can't lug him up and down the stairs like a sack of tatties, says Billy, so he can't leave the flat. Billy suggests, once the nurse is gone, that they have a special day tomorrow, a last day out, and he promises Paul a nice time.
Yes.
So on Friday, this was all a Friday's episode, and I'm sure most people have seen it or heard about it. This is all from Paul's perspective. It doesn't seem that long since we had the two-hander that wasn't really a two-hander between Joel and Racist Kelly, so to have another special episode so quickly after that, I was like, oh, I'm not too sure if this is going to work for me. This kind of feels more out of the ordinary Coronation Street, and you know what I'm like. But I think they did it really well. So on Friday, Paul is dreaming of dancing to Bronski Beat in a nightclub, which...
An empty nightclub.
An empty nightclub with dancing with these dimples. Oh, those dimples.
Such a cutie patootie.
It reminded me immediately of After Sun
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
All of Us Strangers.
Another Paul.
Oh,
Paul Mescal.
so conjuring the images of those two movies,
Right.
I was sure that I was going to be emotionally destroyed by this.
Yes.
And so it was. But the dream becomes a nightmare when he loses Billy and finds himself trapped alone. And he sees the exit, but the door opens into blackness.
Right. And that really, really reminded me of After Sun.
Right. When he wakes in his chair, we hear his internal monologue as he calms himself. He's in his chair. Billy's making smoothies. Everything's okay. Paul tries to explain what his dream was about, but his speech is much, much worse. And Paul's like, oh, not now, not on my special day.
Right.
But Billy can still understand him, and Paul is relieved. So Billy loads him into the car, and they go off to the church where they were married, and they remember their wedding. And this is when I started to cry.
Oh.
So I'm watching this at like 9 o'clock this morning. Tears streaming down my face.
Aw.
Proper crying. Now,
Yeah.
you know that I cry at game shows now that I've reached a certain age.
Do you?
A decent game show will make me cry. Yeah,
Really?
if something really nice happens to somebody. Yeah. I'm losing it.
You're adorable.
I'm a shell of a man.
I didn't cry at this episode. I think there's
You
something
didn't?
wrong with me.
Oh my God.
I think it's because of the way it ends.
Well, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
What a day the wedding was. Billy explains that this was the happiest he's ever been in his life, and he hopes that he can remember this wherever that he goes. Paul remembers every single minute too. Billy has prepared the speech he would have read had he known about the church wedding, but when he retrieves his Bible and starts to read from Corinthians, Paul's like, oh no, because he remembers the last time we saw Billy with a Bible probably was the day that Billy swore on it that he was going to help Paul end his life when the time comes. So, upset,
Right.
Paul asks Billy to stop. So they just sit
Yeah.
and look around.
1 Corinthians 13. We read that at our wedding.
Yeah, we're nothing if not predictable.
Yes.
Next stop, it's the pub. And for some reason, Kirk's there to ruin it for everyone. Todd's there too, and Dee Dee, and Daniel, because the show's remembered that Paul and Daniel were mates before Billy stole his every moment.
And David. David's there too.
David shows up with a bio-zoom, whatever that is, and he doctors Kirk's pint while everyone talks about what they would do in their last day, which I felt was a little inappropriate.
Yeah, so did I.
David's gadget has turned the pint into bubbles so Paul can taste a beer. Best mates, says Paul. Billy says, yes, they are the best mates. And Paul's like, oh, he's my interpreter now.
Yeah. Fuck you.
On the way home,
Only not.
Paul says that he loves Billy, but this time Billy can't understand, and this really upsets Paul because the one thing that he was going to rely on was that Billy would always know when he said that he loved him.
Right.
And he calls on Bernie. So Billy rushes off to get her, and Todd stays with him. And Todd seems to realise that Paul's upset.
Yes.
And he seems to twig that something might be up. And it seems that it's chaos at the Quad Squad flat, and Billy suggests that they go tomorrow, but Paul insists he needs to go and see them today.
Yeah.
And then Todd, at this point,
Yes.
seems to realise.
Yeah. It's funny how Todd realizes so much more than Billy does.
Or anyone else. Because
This
there's a few people that
whole
just think
day.
a little bit more of. So at the Quad House, Paul watches the kids play and imagines what they'll be when they grow up. Gemma's sent a...
Yes.
I thought you were going to go through it.
No. Yeah, one of them's going to be like
Yeah, see?
prime minister or something. And then the other boy is like,
Yeah,
I don't know,
He's thick
sport,
as shit.
maybe?
Sport, probably. Yeah, sport will do. Gemma sent a message to Bernie, who is out with Dev, preparing for a trip to Blackpool tomorrow. She tells Joseph to give Uncle Paul a hug, but Joseph seems a little reluctant, says that he needs to get on with his homework. Kit shows up, and if anything, he's grown a foot. He has a birthday card for Chesney, who's 86 years young today. Billy and Paul leave. Paul tells Gemma that he loves her, and she doesn't read anything significant into this. In his head, he says he hopes that they will remember him, and that sets me off.
right,
again.
yeah, the littles. And then Alad flashes the I love you sign to Uncle Paul, and that was sweet.
So they go back to the flat, but outside, Summer's out off with Asha, and Paul suggests that she gets a hotel, and he's paying. Todd, who seems to be the only person with a functioning brain today, realises why this is significant. While Billy goes up to open up the top door, Todd asks Paul if he's all right, and Paul says that he is, and Todd says, really? What's going on in there? Paul says, don't you make me cry, but internally, and says it's nothing, and Todd doesn't believe him.
No.
So they get him upstairs, and when Billy goes off to run a bath, Todd says that he'll leave them to it, and gives Paul a hug and a kiss, and tells him that he loves him.
Well, no, after the bath, he gives him a hug and a kiss and tells him he loves
That's
him.
an important distinction.
Yes.
Paul tells him that he loves him too and thanks him. Todd says it's been a privilege and leaves just as Billy comes in, and he gives Billy a big hug, who says, seems like Todd's been on the beer a little bit too much.
Right. It's like, why are you so... If anything, that scene reinforces to me that what should have happened is that Todd and Paul got together.
Yes.
Because that would have been a better pairing for everyone.
Yeah.
And also, I kind of love the relationship that has grown between them. You know, that he's comfortable with him helping him with his bath, which is why I feel it's important to say that Todd helped Billy bathe Paul, and then it's afterwards. You know, and you got to remember that they hated one another when Todd first came back, because Todd was going to try to steal Billy from him.
Yep.
And now Todd realizes how big a bullet he has dodged.
I don't think he does. I don't think that's how he thinks on it at all. And this was the bit that really broke me. Out of everything that happened, these scenes with Todd outside and then Todd up in the flat. Billy, at that point, I'm thinking he hasn't twigged, or he's deliberately ignoring this.
No,
but he really didn't twig.
No, he didn't twig.
But the bit with Todd, when they hug and he kisses him and he tells him it's been a privilege, basically, to know him, I'm having to swallow back the emotion at the moment as I'm thinking about it, because it's just so brilliantly done.
It is.
Garth Pierce and Peter Ash in this little scene that maybe lasts, I don't know, maybe a minute, is just so brilliantly done and so overloaded with emotion and things that they aren't saying to each other.
I know.
And there's nothing better than things that they aren't saying to each other.
Yeah.
This is called subtext, and it's a
Yes,
good thing. And
it
the way
is.
that they were doing it was just brilliant. And I know this is an episode that is Billy and Paul, but agreeing with you, the Todd and Paul stuff, because Todd knows Paul so well.
Yeah.
And knows what that hotel means. Summer
Right.
doesn't know what that hotel means. Why does Summer not know what that hotel means?
Summer thought Kit was going to steal Gemma's house. She's not as smart as everybody thinks she is, which is why they sent her back from America.
Todd knows.
Yeah.
And that's the fact that Todd knows. Because I was surprised to see Todd. I was like, I wasn't sure that he was going to play such a big part in this episode. I'm so glad that he does.
Yes, me too. I wish
Bernie-
they'd shagged.
Bernie shows up later with some videos that she's picked up for £1 and a VCR that she's picked up for £5.
Yeah.
Paul
My kind of woman.
Paul is upset. He thought he could do without. He could do this without seeing her. I thought, but I think he's glad to see her. She hates to see him looking so sad, though. He says he's just tired, and rather than take a hint, Bernie takes her jacket off and decides that she's doing some tidying up.
Yes. Which is good.
So later, Paul tells Bernie that she's good to him. I'm not Nurse Ratched, says Bernie, which is funny because we watched
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest like
just
2
this
days
week.
ago.
Yeah. And he thanks her. She promises to bring him a Kiss Me Quick hat from Blackpool.
And she corrects herself and says she meant Florence Nightingale.
Yes, because those two things are the same. He tells her that he loves her, and she finally leaves, wishing them a good night. Billy immediately complains about where Bernie has packed things away, and as he's looking in the cupboard, Paul starts playing Oh Happy Day on his little chair computer thing, and this is their signal. And Billy finally puts 2 and 2 together. Not today, he says. Please, not today. He says that people were locked in for months during COVID and wants it to give it a couple of weeks, but
It's not your choice, Billy.
he doesn't think that Paul's decided this calmly, and he promised that he would decide calmly, and Billy continues to shout and says that he's not ready, and in his mind,
It's
though,
not your fucking choice, Billy.
Paul's saying, "Stop, please stop shouting at me. Please stop shouting at me."
Yeah.
And eventually manages to say, "Just stop shouting." Why can't his last day be a good day? Why does it have to be a terrible day? And I was like,
Right, yeah.
oh my God, that's
Exactly.
just so true.
Exactly. He's picked the perfect day. It's a day where he's been surrounded by his friends and his family. He's been kind of given a chance to sort of say goodbye to people, even though they didn't understand. He's ready to go.
Yep.
And it's his choice, not Billy's. And I hated Billy in this scene. I hated him.
He does say correctly, I think, that because he finally realises what the hotel thing was about,
Right.
that Paul's had this on his mind for a while.
Yeah.
And now Billy's been asked to suddenly accept this.
Right.
And I kind of get it. You're not going to say, well, okay, right then, let me get the benzos out and let's get this over and done with.
Right. But still.
It's going to make a plea.
Yeah. There's making a plea, and then there's shouting at your partner
The shouting
and
wasn't great.
infantilizing them.
Yeah. Paul reminds him that he said he would help, and the decision was his to gauge how much he was willing to lose, and he thinks it's time. Billy is scared that Paul might be wrong. Paul is frustrated that he couldn't express himself properly. He tells Billy that he's the lucky one. He claims if someone had offered him to meet Billy, reconcile with his mum after Kel, see Gemma's kids, but be dead by 40, he'd have taken it. But Billy wants another hour, another minute, but he'll always want that. And so he finally agrees. Paul wants Billy to say that it happened after midnight, so it didn't happen on Chesney's birthday, but Billy says if he wants to say that, then they're going to have to wait until after midnight. So Billy moves Paul onto the sofa and prepares the benzo solution. It looks like he knows what he's doing. Maybe the heroin skills are kicking back in.
That's right.
Paul talks about sieges and how he'd rather be there, and he kicks himself for not going abroad with Billy. So the two of them close their eyes on the couch and imagine being on the beach and the sparkling clean water and the fish that are swimming. But when Billy mentions the fish, Paul's eyes shoot open and suddenly he's scared that it's a shark. And it was just such a lovely moment.
Yeah.
Billy laughs and says it's not a shark, it was a dolphin. Mm-hmm. There's so much we never did, says Paul. There's so much that we did, says Billy. Oh, that's me off again. Billy's determined to read that Corinthians passage about love being patient and kind, not arrogant or rude, and he does this as we see a montage of lovely moments of Paul and Billy's time together, the happy moments, the difficult moments, the sad moments, as the clock slowly ticks towards midnight. Billy kisses Paul, tells him he's so lucky to have had Paul in his life. They promise their love for each other. Billy prays, asks for forgiveness. He asks Paul again if he's without doubt, because if he says yes, he'll do it. But before Paul can answer, the buzzer goes. It's Chesney. Fucking
Chesney.
One of the kids has taken a fall and has been taken off to the hospital, so the kids are loaded into Summer's room to look after them. And Joseph still looks a little unsettled around Paul, but Paul's like, do you know what? In you come.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm like, he's going to kill himself with the kids in the flat?
Yeah. He's not going to do
That's
that.
dark as fuck. Even too dark for Coronation Street, surely.
Yeah. Turns out you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Paul-
Saved by the bell, quite literally.
So Billy puts all the paraphernalia away as Joseph claims that he can't sleep, and he asks to stay up, and Paul agrees, sure. Then Ali gets up, then the other non-injured quads get up, and Joseph apologises for being horrible to Paul earlier and promises to try to understand him better. They talk about Paul's dreams, and how he dreams that he doesn't fly, he can dance.
Right, because Joseph has read a book by someone
Yeah, I'm still
with
me or something
MND.
like that.
Yeah, about it and everything. He also asks if Karis, the quad who fell down the stairs, is going to die, which I felt was kind of dark. As well that he's worried that this tumble down the stairs is going to kill one of his siblings,
Yeah.
and also his uncle is about ready to die as well.
You can see where his mind is.
Yeah, yeah.
Poor Joseph.
Poor kid.
Finally, the kids go off to bed. Billy is grateful for the extra time. Paul wants to think about sieges again, so that's what they do, and Paul dreams his dream in the nightclub again. Only this time he doesn't lose Billy, and when he walks through the exit, it's white. Next morning, Chesney comes to pick up the kids, and as they leave, Paul says that he'll see them soon. Billy asks if he's changed his mind. No, says Paul, but not today. And that's how we end this week's episodes.
Yeah. It feels dirty that they set this whole thing up only for Chesney to show up at the last minute with the kids.
Well,
I did not enjoy that. It's like you've been emotionally manipulating us this whole episode and pulling at our heartstrings. We are all ready to say goodbye to Paul, and then it doesn't happen.
I think they've done an incredible job up to that point.
Yeah.
Up to the buzzer ringing.
Right.
When the
yeah.
buzzer rang, I actually got a fright, and Paul looks like he's frightened.
Yeah.
Who's ringing the doorbell
Right.
after midnight?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing,
And,
you know?
and the way that they'd done it with the summer with the hotel thing was almost as poignant as Aidan with a note on the bathroom door for Johnny.
Right. Don't come in here.
Right. It was exceptional, and I thought it was just brilliantly written, and I had a clear emotional reaction to it. You
Yeah.
said we're being manipulated. Yes, and I was a willing participant in it.
Right. And then they
And
pull
I
the
felt,
rug out.
and I felt we were building up to the perfect way that Paul
Goes out.
can die.
Yeah.
And then Chesney rings the doorbell, and the moment, as they say,
Passes.
is gone.
Yeah. I thought it was Summer. I thought Summer had finally realized about it, and that's who was ringing the doorbell like that. Or, you know, or it was Todd back to help, or Bernie or Gemma twigged, you know?
Right.
But no, it's one of the quads fell down the stairs and we have to take them to the hospital, so you need to take care of the kids. And it just,
If it had been Summer, that would at least have felt part of the story.
right.
Having a random quad
Fall down the stairs.
randomly and be rushed to hospital, and then to randomly have Bernie and Dev going off to
Blackpool.
because why don't you give the kids to Bernie and Dev? Why
Right.
are you bothering the terminally ill guy
Yeah.
after midnight?
Because Bernie and Dev are in Blackpool.
Or Chesney, why don't you just stay at home with the quads and let Gemma go to the hospital? And because one person's got to go to the hospital and one person's got to stay. It isn't perfect, but it's after midnight.
Right.
And this is the best that we can do.
Yeah.
That bit feels more manufactured than
Anything
the
else?
rest of it.
Yeah.
And I think it puts them in a really difficult position because they've built this so perfectly.
Right. What?
They're going to build it again
Right.
because Billy's never going to go for this again.
No.
If Paul changed his mind one time, what's to stop him changing his mind the next time?
Right.
So Billy's never going to go for this.
No.
So Paul's going to have to die of natural causes.
Right. Or else
A month
convince,
from now, 2 months from now.
or else convince Todd to take care of it for him.
They can't go through this rigmarole one more time.
No.
They can't.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
I
I
loved
don't
it.
know why they did this.
And I don't know either.
Why?
Well, I do know. I do know why.
Why would you even write this episode if Paul wasn't going to die at the end? What's the point? There is no point without Paul dying.
It was an episode about love up until that point.
Yeah.
It becomes an episode about hope, even though there is no hope.
Right. Yeah. And it's Billy's false hope that he can keep Paul around on his timeline as opposed to allowing Paul to choose his own timeline.
But the episode, and I don't think this had anything to do with it, but by the timing of events, Rob Burrow had the dedication of this episode is dedicated to Rob Burrow at the end of the episode. I think it would have been in questionable taste if Rob Burrow, who fought MND and passed away naturally, was dedicated in an episode where Paul took his own life. I think that those things clash. And I think when we learnt about the city's suicide potential in this story, I felt at the time, and I'm sure I've said on this podcast, how they have to be really careful about what message that gives, because it says to the poor people of the world who suffer from MND that there's no hope. You'd be as well ending
there
it
is no
yourself.
hope.
Right, but do we have them all taking their own lives?
Well, dying by suicide? No.
Well, of course not. So,
but some do.
So,
and that should be stated as a clear choice.
So I think Paul choosing not to go that way is the big message out of it, that he's not going to go on his own terms. He's going to let the disease dictate it.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's the right message either. Because I think people should have the right to die with dignity.
Well, sure. They don't at the moment. Because this is not legal what this is depicting.
Right.
So I think this, if anything, makes a call for that to be talked about. Because this feels very difficult to talk about. Mm-hmm. And it should be more openly discussed. And it should be a legal option. You should have the right to end your own life in these circumstances. You currently don't.
Right.
And that's what the big deal is.
Right.
If you were allowed to do that, then Paul and Billy there would be a brochure about this. There would be documents about it. There'd be,
of course, they did have a brochure, but they would have to go to
Switzerland. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like they made the wrong decision for the right reason, but because they did it so perfectly up until that buzzer ring,
yeah,
it feels like we've been robbed of Paul being given the perfect way to leave the show.
Yeah, it feels like we've been cheated. It feels like it makes me question why they would even make this episode if it's not going to end with Paul's death. It feels like being emotionally manipulated for no reason, just to keep us going a little bit longer with the storyline. And I don't think that's cool. I don't like it when Pixar does it. I don't like it when ITV does it.
I don't know if I can say it's for no reason, because Paul changing his mind is a big thing.
But he doesn't change his mind. He just puts it off because the kids are there. Because, you know, Paul recognizes, as you did, it would be very dark to do this while the kids are there. This is going to scar them for life.
Yeah, but now it's not today. Something's changed. He doesn't want to die today.
Right. Not today, but not never either. He's like, we're still doing this, just not today.
Nobody can say never.
Right. But he does.
But he went from being sure that he wanted to die to not being sure that he wanted to die.
He still wants to die.
That doesn't... Yeah, but if you're sure, yes, I want to die right now,
Yeah.
to go from that to being not that feels like a big thing.
I think it still kind of feels like it has more to do with the kids than anything else. I think it has more to do with his conversation with Joseph.
I agree. I think that that re-established connection has helped him to think not today.
Right.
Whereas he was very much today.
Right. Yeah.
Can we at least agree exceptionally well acted?
Well, yes. Yes.
Peter Ash just manages to find new levels to go to, and I've no idea how he manages it.
Yeah.
It's breathtaking how well he's portrayed this all the way through, but then this week particularly, they even used a white exit. I mean, if that's not symbolic.
Yeah.
I thought he was actually going to die.
In his sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thought, well,
so
okay,
too.
that works.
Yeah. Yeah.
That works because I've been thinking that he's going to die, and then I'm thinking that he's not going to die, and then he dies.
Yeah. I thought so too. Yeah.
That's another
I had
opportunity
the same
missed.
thought. Yeah.
It's a white exit. What else is a white exit supposed to mean?
That's what that means.
Oh. God
The time
damn it.
is now. The time has come.
That was the week that was Coronation Street then. Tell me, Helen, what was your moment of the week?
Paul and Todd.
Yes.
Paul and Todd.
It broke me the most.
Yes.
And again, just thinking about it, the words, it's been a privilege.
Yeah.
Think how he's going to feel on Monday when Paul's
still alive.
There. Don't I feel like a fucking asshole now? Of course he won't.
No.
But anyway, yes, that is our
Moment of the week.
Our boring moment of the week.
Joel talking about vegetables.
Was it? Yes, it was to Racist Kelly.
Yeah. Pregnant ladies need vegetables for folic acid. Thank you for mansplaining pregnancy to the pregnant girl.
Now, Joel, if you could just go to Oklahoma to Tornado Alley and tell all those people how to behave in a tornado, you can star in the movie Twisters. Yes. Joel and his vegetables. That's...
Boring moment of the week.
That's our boring moment of the week. Now, our Twitter followers, as per usual, have voted on what they thought of this week's episodes. This week, rather than yay, I gave the option of oofed. Because it wasn't really a yay week, I don't think. So the choice was oofed, meh, or zzz, as usual. Zzz, 15%.
Okay.
Meh, 20%.
Ooh.
Oofed, 65%.
Well.
Another resoundingly positive response from our Twitter several. For I think the third week on the bounce.
Yeah.
But we don't let that sway us, Helen, do we?
No.
So, what score would you give the show out of 10 this week?
6.5.
6.5?
It would have been a 9 if Paul died.
See, I'm giving it a 9, and it would have been a 9.5 if Paul died.
Because the rest of the week, like Stu not watching Coronation Street and not realizing who Mason was immediately, and and just bringing the whole Mason storyline back felt ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not chuffed about that.
Nick punched a guy.
Always great.
I mean, if Paul had died, if I didn't feel emotionally manipulated by the show, it would be a 9, but it's a 6.5.
6.5. You're a tough scorer, but hey.
I am, but fair.
Well, you're a tough scorer. All right.
I give a 9 to Peter Ash and Gareth Pierce, though.
There you go. A tough scorer. Let's wrap this one up then.
Yes.
This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast: Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, DT, Trisha, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, Christy, Shandy, English Victoria, Aurora Yvonne, Heather Westerfield, Russell Whiting, Jackie B and Brittany Porter.
Woo!
Thank you ever so much, folks. If you've ever...
Falling down the stairs. People fall down the stairs in the show far too often. The cat almost killed me earlier, by the way, speaking of falling down the stairs. Cookie almost murdered me and made me fall down the stairs.
This bit's going on much longer than usual.
Yes.
If you've ever fallen down the stairs, pick a better moment to do it. And then write in to tell us about it. We're the talk of the street at gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads and Blue Sky. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street, or patreon.com/the talk of the street. Check out voggle.co.uk for links to a merch store, YouTube channel and blog. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
Little baby Danny DeVito.
Thanks for making it to the end of another episode, and we will be back next week with more
Talk of the street.
Talk of the Street, y'all.
Bye.
Cheerio.